It's October Saturday afternoon. So normally when I do a podcast, I do them with a co-host, be it John Fouts, be it Stu Miller, be it Chris Legrest. Um, but everybody's poorly. Let me just mute my second screen. I have a second screen open with the chat window open, so if anybody does have any questions or any topics or whatever, chuck them in. I don't usually do solo podcasts on the live YouTube stream, but I thought, you know what, there's not much else to do. John Fouts was poorly, so I haven't been able to do a podcast with him. I did one with the wonderful Stu Miller last week, which you can find on the YouTube channel. My audio did crap out a little bit on that one. It kind of went up and down a little bit. I wasn't aware of it while I was having the show. I don't know if Stu heard the audio going up and down, but he didn't tell me, so I didn't know until I watched the video back. And I do need to have a catch up with Chris at some point. I do need to have a catch up with the wonderful Neil Johnson at some point. So I'm going to start doing more of these live podcasts. But it's the weekend. I nearly said I'm up to date with all the things I need to do, but I am not up to date whatsoever. My to-do list is kind of a big list, but I am slowly catching up. Anybody who's listened to these previous podcasts, whether it's on Spotify or whether it's on these ones, knows that I've had like some health issues over the past however long, couple of months, couple of years, my entire life. And so I'm dealing with a lot of that at the minute. I'm juggling bits and pieces. I have got another hospital appointment in 9 days where they're going to swap out the pipe that is currently hanging out of my human body. Wonderful. What a great way to spend on October. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to jump online. I don't know if people are going to jump in and watch anything that I'm going to be rambling about. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. I'm all good. If it's literally just me rambling away for like an hour about movies and geek things, then so be it. If nobody at all watches it, I'll just delete the video and pretend it never happened. So what have I been up to this morning? Let me get started. Well, I am part way through doing an unboxing video for this little beauty, which I picked up. I picked it up from Zavi, but it's a 101 Films release. It's number 46 in their black label, and it's the Doll Man toy box. So I do a lot of unboxing videos and a lot of very basic reviews. I don't go into like how many pixels and stuff are going on videos, but I will go into what you get for these sets. Does it feel any good? I do focus on the special features because I love special features. So there is an unboxing video that I'm part way through doing. I just need to add some of the online text, running times, that sort of thing, and then that will be on the channel. But just to give you a quick glimpse of what this is, Doll Man cost me $49.99. Bought it from Zavi, bought it with ClearPay, and so I can pay for it over like a month. I pay for it every couple of weeks, about £12-13 or something every couple of weeks. But you're getting 8 movies in this sucker. Look at that. You get 8 movies in this. Pretty impressive stuff. So you get Doll Man, Demonic Toys, Doll Man versus Demonic Toys, the Baby Oopsie trilogy, and Demonic Toys Jack Attack, I believe, are the ones you get. There's a lot of special features in this, and it's not wall-to-wall commentaries. Now, I love a good commentary, but it isn't stacked with those sort of special features. But looking at the 101 website and various other retailers' websites, it does tell you what the special features are. Some featurette for this, featurette for that, so on and so on. But I always like to check to see if in fact those listings are correct, and in some cases it's not. There's extra features on this, nothing extensive bar one. One of the listings is like a behind the scenes at full moon, and I think that's pretty much what it's called. So I always check the running time out of special features, because I you know, the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. Give me a 5-hour featurette and I'm very, very happy. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes long, which is kind of crazy, to be fair. And just let me play around with this YouTube. I've got to change my screen thing over. Shan't be a second. There we go. But yeah, 3 hours and 15 minutes, and yet it's not listed on the special features on the website, which is kind of crazy. I bought a Clint Eastwood, or I was given a Clint Eastwood box set by my wonderful partner Annette a couple of years ago, and all the special features were listed, and yet there were some that weren't listed. So full-length commentaries and stuff like that, which is quite weird. So yeah, this was my morning, was opening this on camera, and as well as the films. Look at that, you get a solid book in it that is in fact all 6 issues of the Dollman sort of universe things. So really well put together. It's a solid book. I mean, the artwork in this is pretty impressive. So at some point, I kind of wish I read graphic novels a little bit more. I used to as a kid. I used to read a lot of books as a kid, but then for some reason, my time is just gobbled up by watching movies. So that's the latest one that I have treated myself to. So it is Shocktober, so I'm going to give you a rundown of. Hey, Midnight Social is in the chat. Midnight Social, I'd like to thank you for leaving comments on some of the videos that I watch. So I don't tend to get a lot of comments on these YouTube videos. Some get lots, some don't. Generally, it's the way people work now. But Midnight Social is one of those that will watch or listen to the podcast, hopefully enjoys them, and then leaves a nice comment. So it's always a pleasure to wake up in the morning or whenever I look at the comments and it's like, so he's left a comment. Midnight Social has left a comment. So Midnight Social, you're amazing. I think you're awesome. Coming out on Monday is this thing. Now, this was one, it could be my favorite release of the year. Now, you're going to look at it and you're going to go, well, that's a bit of a crap packaging. What's all that about? These are screener discs. So anybody who's run a website or a podcast or whatever, who has done it for a reasonable amount of time, knows, hopefully, that some PR companies will send these out. So, screener discs. Used to be timecode VHS back in the day. My God, I miss those days. And so what Arrow have got is on Monday, the 13th of October, they are releasing Return of the Living Dead, the class. I'm calling that classic, 1985 movie on Blu-ray. So I hadn't seen this film for a while, and generally the way that these screener discs work is you get a press release through from a PR company, you email them back, and you go, I've posted the news story for you. Here's my link. By the way, have you got any screener discs for this? Now, depending on the PR company and depending on your reach, so whether if you've got a reasonable relationship with these PR companies over the years, you can get some of these. Obviously, there's no packaging. There's just the box, a clear box and, very basic Blu-ray. But all the content of the set is in these discs. So what I do have here is the complete set of the Return of the Living Dead special things. And so I sat down, I think it's like a couple of weeks back, and I thought, I'm just going to give it a watch. I hadn't seen Return of the Living Dead since probably about 1986, 87. I remember renting it from a video store way back when. And I thought I'd like to revisit films. I'm kind of getting more into that whole nostalgia, revisiting movies and stuff like that. I enjoy it. It's my comfort zone at the minute. There are a lot of good films out nowadays, but I just feel, for me personally, that there's a lot of films that you watch once and you go, that was really good. You probably never will watch it again, not because the film was bad in any way, but just because of the way the film was. But if you go back to the films you used to watch years ago, you would constantly watch them. I've lost count of how many times I've watched The Abyss or watched Lethal Weapon. And yet I've seen The Nice Guys twice. Go figure. So Return of the Living Dead was one of those films that I used to watch quite a bit on VHS because I paid my £1.50 or £2 or whatever it was. And I thought, I'm going to get my money's worth out of it. I watched it. I liked it. It's kind of silly. But you go back to the days of VHS, and let's use Return of the Living Dead as an example, is you would watch the film, you would see the film, you'd enjoy the film, and then that was it. You don't really know much about the movie. if you looked at the poster, you could see who was in it, who directed it. If you read the credits at the end, you could get the same information and more. But with these physical releases, and certainly with Return of the Living Dead, I think I've become a bit of an expert on the film. It is possibly one of the best releases that I have seen this year. And I don't mean that Return of the Living Dead is the best film I've seen this year. It's a good film, but there's a lot of better films. But it is so special, feature packed. It's crazy. I'm going to be doing a video at some point. I was trying to find, no, I didn't have it on my screen, but I was trying to find, I have a list of all the special features that are on this set, and I was seeing if I had it on my screen. I don't, but I'm going to be doing a video because it is so feature packed. And from memory, there's like 4 full audio commentaries on this thing. There are countless featurettes. I totaled around 5.5, 6 hours worth of stuff, and that doesn't include the commentaries, obviously, because they're an hour and a half each, and the 6 hours just for that. But as well as all the bonus features that you're getting on the first disc, there's also a second disc, which when this arrived through the post, I'm like, the hell is this? Because it says, if you look at it, more brains. So I looked at it, and they arrived on the same day, separate envelopes for some reason. I'm like, more brains, that's got to be something to do with Night of the Living Dead. Surely. And sure enough, it is. More Brains is a 2-hour documentary about the making of Return of the Living Dead. I wasn't sure when I put the documentary on. I'm like, does Return of the Living Dead really need a 2-hour documentary? And then the next thing I knew, I'd finished watching the 2-hour documentary, and I'm like, well, that was a really good documentary. So in answer, does it need a 2-hour documentary for an 89-minute film? Yeah, it does. And it got one, and it's great. Then you've got more special features on the second disc, including the very final on-camera interview with Dan O'Bannon, who directed Return of the Living Dead. I learned tons by watching the features on this Blu-ray. I mean, it's in the title, Return of the Living Dead, but anybody who's seen that film knows that it's nothing like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. They're not even comparable. Return of the Living Dead is more comedic and send more cops and all that sort of stuff. Whereas Night of the Living Dead and Dawn and Day, whilst they do have sort of mildly dark comedic moments in them, they're pretty serious horror films. I didn't know that Return of the Living Dead originally was meant to be a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. So, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. So John Russo, who was one of the co-producers of Night of the Living Dead, he and George talked about Return of the Living Dead being a follow-up, and then that never really happened. George went off to do Dawn of the Dead, I believe, and John Russo did other stuff. And then eventually this Return of the Living Dead thing was landed on the desk of Tobe Hooper. He of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fame. So Tobe Hooper was going to be doing it, which that would have been pretty cool, to be fair. Tobe Hooper then went off to do Life Force, so he didn't end up doing Return of the Living Dead. And the guy that wrote the script, Dan O'Bannon, he who wrote Alien and the very classic film Free Jack, I think he wrote it, I know he was something to do with it, would go on to do Return of the Living Dead. So it was things like that I knew. There's the featurettes, whilst they are from a few years ago, they're not from 1985. They're from like the 2010s, I believe. And so you got Linnea Quigley in there. You've also got the Dan O'Bannon interview. It's packed. It's absolutely packed as this. And it is a set that, even though I own the screener discs, I can see myself picking up the actual Blu-ray at some point. Just because, I don't know why, because I've kind of got the sets here, but it's a really good set. The amount of special features on this thing is kind of mind-boggling. So what else have I got to watch? Well, I have got a couple of, and I don't know when I have to do these I have to do these in October. even though they're not really horror films. So from Studio Canal, I have a film called Diva, which is a French movie, I think. This is the original, so it's not a screener one. But look at, I don't know how I feel about these new skinny Blu-ray cases. How do you feel about these? This is a 4K one as well, by the way. But they're kind of thin. I think if I'm not OCD by any means, but I kind of like everything to look a bit uniformed on my shelf. I used to have a big collection of Arrow Blu-rays, and I had them all on their own shelf, and it drove me nuts when the little A was was sort of out of alignment compared to the others. It really annoyed me. Maybe I'm a bit OCD. And then the other one, which I'm not going to hazard a pronunciation because I would kill the pronunciation. Le Quai de Brume is, see, fluent in French. What's all that about? Amazing. Again, that comes in the thin sort of packaging. So maybe this is now the standard for that. This is not a 4K disc. This is a regular one. I have these two movies to watch at some point over the next few days. And the other thing I have to watch is the second season of this one, Mayfair Witches, which I have seen the first season. So we get 4 discs in this one. So we get that. This is quite a pricey box set though, because let's have a look and see how much this costs, because I remember looking at it and it was quite pricey. So we've got, right, so this is the set that I have, and it is, I mean, this is the packaging. It's just a regular Blu-ray case. You get 4 discs in it, so you get 2 for season 1, 2 for season 2. You get 8 episodes per season, so you get 16 hours, give or take, including credits, of features in that, of episodes, for 40 quid. It's quite pricey. So that's $39.99 for that, and that was $49.99 for that one. So it's the prices of physical media is kind of all over the place at the minute. And I've seen some. There was, I mean, don't get me wrong, the set looks amazing, but there is a set that's just been announced for The Wild Geese, that classic Richard Burton film that's coming out, and it's the one film, but there's extra features in there. I think there's like art cards and a book and all these bells and whistles and stuff in there, but it's 65 quid. £65 for one film. And I suppose if you really, really love that film and it's like, oh my God, this film is in my top 10, then maybe it's worth it. But I don't know. I would struggle picking a film up for £65. I think it would kind of freak me out. I don't have that sort of budget. I am kind of reliant on being very, very frugal with what I spend, because I don't have a fortune to spend on physical media. I would love to go out and get every box set. I mean, you know, why not? I love doing these box openings for the video channel. But I just don't have the budget. So I choose wisely. I did pick up the Dollman box set, which is that lovely beast here. And that will probably be me until Christmas then. I may pick another set up at Christmas, or I may pick another one up when I finish paying for this one. I'm halfway there. I've got 27 quid left to pay, and then that's 100% my own. But so there is that. So how is everybody's Shocktober going? I think Midnight Socials just jumped in and legged it again. Midnight, you've disappeared. What is going on? So we are now a third of the way through, trying to find my spreadsheet. We are a third of the way through. Oh, there we go. Midnight's back. What am I planning on watching on Halloween night? Usually I watch Trick or Treat. See, which Trick or Treat though? There is one. I remember there was one from years ago, like the 80s, I think. And then there is the newer one with the kid with the sack on his head. I can't remember what that kid's called, but he's become like iconic as that kid. I've seen the 80s one like once back in the day. I just remember a lot of like 80s heavy metal music and stuff in it. Yeah, there we go. The 2000s one, thanks midnight. That's probably the better one, I think. I think you've got a better choice there. I do need to watch Trick or Treat again. What's the name of the kid? I can't remember the name of the kid, but the kid with the sack on his head, the sack boy thing. Very cool character. I'm sure there's a lot of merch out there with him. What am I planning on watching on Halloween night? Well, it depends. Let's see what day. Oh, it's on a Friday. That's pretty good. What's with these dumb arses online? Have you seen them a lot online on Facebook where they're like, "Oh my god, this year for the first time ever, Halloween falls on Friday 13th." Jesus, I see that at least 5 or 6 times every year. People are people that dumb? I don't think, but I do see people commenting going, "No, it's not. I just checked." For God's sake, how can the 31st be on the 13th? Give me a break. It depends what day of the week Halloween falls on. It depends what real life stuff is. Sam! There we go. There we go. Yep, Sam's not a very spooky name, but Sam is a very spooky Sackboy kid. So, yeah, definitely. What I used to do on Halloween was I would get up in the morning, as I get up every morning, and then what I would do is watch horror movies or at least have them playing on the TV until I went to bed. So I would put a lot of thought into what films would be playing, and I wouldn't necessarily sit down and watch these things from start to finish for like 17 hours or whatever. But although once I did stay up for 24 hours and watch horror films, but I'll probably touch upon that one in a minute. And I would just choose wisely, and I would plan them out. Okay, from 10 till 12, I'll watch this, and then I'll have a little bit of a break for half an hour and have some lunch. Then I'll watch this from 1 till. Generally, I go for my favorites. So my very, very favorite horror movies ever. Night of the Living Dead, 1968's George Romero one. That was a horror film I was scared to watch as an adult. I always had this thing where I'm like, I don't mind gore in films now because I've kind of got used to it, but I was always a bit, I don't need to see. It didn't freak me out. I'm just like, why would I want that stuff in my head? I'm good. And so there was a lot of classic films that I'd never seen. I'd never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'd never seen Night of the Living Dead, Zombie Flesh Eaters, all that sort of stuff. I'm like, I don't need that stuff in my head. I'm good. I'll stick to watching like The Black Hole and The Beastmaster and The Never Ending Story. But then when I was about 28, yeah, I'm not even kidding, I was about 28, and I was working in a video store. This customer came in, which was always nice when customers came in, and he had a VHS copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for quite a while wasn't available in the UK. You couldn't get it. Really hard to get hold of. And there was no internet, so you couldn't, download the thing. Downloading. And so he loaned it me, and I'm like, oh, thanks. He went, oh, you got to watch it. I'm like, yeah. And I thought, never going to watch this thing. But he loaned it to me, and I knew that in a couple of days he was going to come back and he was going to go, what do you think of it? So I thought, I've got to watch this thing. So I sat down that morning. So I didn't watch it at night. I ain't watching shit like that at night. I'm a wuss. So I got up in the morning, following morning, put in the VHS of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and was really surprised about how ungory that film is. I mean, it's a terrifying film. It still freaks me out to this day because it's the atmosphere that it has. But there's not a lot of blood in it. See, in my brain, I was always thinking this thing is just going to be wall-to-wall blood, guts, and death and destruction and all that sort of stuff. But it's really not. It's not that violent. But the atmosphere that this film gives, it's just so damn creepy. And I just fell in love with that film there and then. So that very quickly became my favorite. Then I eventually picked up a VHS of Night of the Living Dead, the George Romero classic, and it was a colorized version. Now I hate the whole fact that there are colorized versions of films out there. So I got this VHS and I turned the color off on the movie. So I made it black and white, and then did experience Night of the Living Dead in black and white. the way it was intended by George Romero. And I fell in love with that film as well. I absolutely loved it. So midnight in the chat. I like to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre in summer when it's really hot. Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Yeah, seasonal movies. That's a good one. Seasonal movies. Definitely Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you're sitting sweating your head off, watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And yeah, you're spot on with The Shining. If it's snowing outside, watch The Shining. But just don't answer the door if somebody knocks at it. Although if they do and you don't answer, are they going to just smash your door down with an axe? I do love The Shining. It's not a good Stephen King adaptation, but it's an amazing film. And so, yeah, with my movies, it was things like Night of the Living Dead I would put on, The Omen, love The Omen, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I am a huge fan, and I get why people don't like it, but I'm a huge fan of the Blair Witch Project. I absolutely love that film. I do have a really good limited edition second sight set of that film downstairs, which I got a couple of years back, which is just special feature packed. Really, really good. So yeah, Blair Witch Project. I think when I was doing like the 14, 15 hours of horror marathons, I would watch 28 Days Later. So I would sort of mix it, but I would definitely have my favorites in there. And then I think the last film of the day that I would always watch once the sun had gone down at like 5 o'clock or whatever it does in winter is I would watch John Carpenter's Halloween, because you can't not watch Halloween on Halloween. But then I branched out my viewing, and then I would, on the 30th of October, I would always watch Alex Proyas's version of The Crow, because it's set on Devil's Night. So I would do that. So yeah, so I do like to do these traditions. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to watch this year, because this month, this October, this Shocktober, Annette and I are doing the Shocktober thing. So it's the 11th now. We haven't watched our film yet because it's still daytime. But I have watched 10 horror movies so far. So I was going to sort of save this live show and do it at the end, but then I'm like, who the hell's going to watch 31 horror movies? So I thought I'm just going to split it up into like thirds. And I had nothing else to do this afternoon. So I thought I will give it a go, and I'm going to give you a rundown of the films that I've watched this Shocktober. Order Pizza, Trick or Treat, Halloween H20. Am I the only one that calls it H20? I think I might be. And there's got to be certain things that bug people, right? And for me, it's one of the things that bugs me, not to the point where I fall out with people when they do it, but it's when people call Halloween H20, when they call it H2O. And you're like, why would it be Halloween water? Makes no freaking sense. But people do it. Stu Miller did it the other week. I think we were on the podcast, and Stu went, Halloween H2O. And I don't correct people if they do it, but inside one of my brain cells just goes and dies. H20 is because it's 20 years after the original Halloween. But for some reason, I seem to be one of the only people on the planet that calls it H20. Everybody else calls it H2O. I don't know why. It's not a hill I'm going to die on, to be fair. It's just one of them little things. Like, why do people do that? Right. So what have I watched? Right. I am going to go through the 10 films so far and give you teeny little reviews about what I have watched this Shocktober so far. One of the extra things that I have watched, and this is not included on the list because it's not a film, is we're halfway through watching Monster, the Ed Gein story on Netflix. I will finish watching it because it's only 8 episodes, but I ain't loving that show, really, to be honest. It kind of, I think some of it's really, really good. I'm not going to spoil anything, so don't worry if you've not watched it. I think some of it's really, really good. I think some of it is, in my personal opinion, really bad. The stylistic choices are not to my taste. I'm not going to say they're wrong because it's not me that's making the program, but Charlie Hunnam's really, really good, other than his voice. I get why his voice is like that. It's obviously a choice that he's made, and some people have said that's how the real Ed Gein sounded. But it's very jarring when you see Charlie Hunnam, who you're so used to um, in other stuff. Come on and talk like this. He's very sort of Mickey Mouse-ish, and it is quite jarring when that starts happening. But again, that's not a reason for me to go, this show sucks, I'm out of here. For me, it's the stylistic choices. There's flashbacks, there's flash forwards, there's scenes when it's in his head. Do we know that's what was in his head as he talks about that? So it's very to me the show feels all over the place. It's well shot. It's not, if you want to learn about Ed Gein, that's probably not the place to learn about it. Apparently, the body count in the TV show is just like way through the roof compared to what actually happened. But it's not a documentary, so that's fine. Again, that's not a hill that I'm going to die on. I think the Monster, the Ed Gein story, to me, if somebody says, should I watch it? Well, yeah, if you want to watch it. If you like the first two seasons, it's not as straightforward as the first two seasons. It's more arty and more stylish than the Mendez Brothers season and the Jeffrey Dahmer season. I think Monster is on a sliding scale downwards. I think the Jeffrey Dahmer season was the best season so far. Then the Mendez Brothers was the second one. Wasn't as good as the first one, but it's still good. And then Ed Gein is not as good as the Mendez Brothers, and so on and so on. I'm hoping that trend changes when the Lizzie Borden season comes out, because the Lizzie Borden thing's quite a good story. I've seen a couple of movies based on the Lizzie Borden case over the years. So I'll be curious to see what Ryan Murphy does with that. But yeah, I'm not loving the Ed Gein show, but I will finish it because I've only got 4 episodes left, and what the heck, I don't mind. So that isn't included in my Shocktober list. But what is, some of the films I've watched are things I've seen before. Some are new ones. The majority, I'm trying to make sure that the majority of the things I watch are new ones. However, starting off on the 1st of October was a rewatch of a Argentinian film called When Evil Lurks. When Evil Lurks, which, when it started off, and I talked about this with Stu Miller last week, I'm not a massive fan of possession movies. The Exorcist is a classic. I absolutely love The Exorcist. And there's the odd exception of films that I think handle possession stuff quite well. But generally, I'm not like, oh, a new possession movie, I'll watch that. However, When Evil Lurks handles the possession side of things really well, because it feels like a possession movie, but it also feels like a zombie movie, and it also feels like a viral outbreak movie. So and also apocalyptic movie. So it wonderfully blends all these things together. And there are some scenes in that film that I have never seen before. There is a scene with a dog, and I'm not going to say any more than that. And I didn't last week with Stu Miller, but there is a scene with a dog. I've never seen that before in a movie. I don't feel the need to see that again in a movie, but it was pretty ouch. Yeah, it was definitely a shock scene. And it's, if you watch a lot of horror movies, and I'm sure horror fans will agree, that there isn't a lot that can shock people. So it's nice when you see a scene where you're like, wow, that was new. I hadn't seen that before. So When Evil Lurks did do that for me. So the following night was a rewatch for me, a new watch for Annette. And it's 1982's The Entity, which is a film I hadn't seen since probably in the mid 80s, I think. So I kind of knew that this film was going to be a little bit dated because, because it was made in 1982. And it is based on a true story. I suppose you've got to give air quotes when you say the based on a true story thing. But it is based on a true story about a woman who was repeatedly assaulted and sexually assaulted by a poltergeist. See what I mean when you've got to do this? Because it's like you go into a police station now and say somebody's attacked me, it was a ghost. You're going to end up in a certain different type of interrogation room, I would have thought. So basically, that was a rewatch for me. It is a little dated. The soundtrack's a little bit thumpy, thumpy 80s, dum 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 sort of music. But you take that away from it, it's still a pretty impactful film. I think Barbara Hershey's great in the main role. There are some visual effects in that. We like, how the hell did you do that part? So there's bits like where you can see that there's a ghost or something is touching this woman's flesh, and you can see where the fingers are indenting in the skin. You're like, how the hell did you do that? It's very clever for 1982 pre CGI sort of world. Worth watching. It's not an easy film to say I recommend it because it's like, hey, watch this woman where a woman is attacked and sexually assaulted by a ghost. It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not a film you watch it and you go, give me the popcorn, I'll enjoy that. But if you like your creepy classic ghost films like The Changeling, um, and things like The Omen and The Entity and The Exorcist, then The Entity is worth going back and checking out. The next one I watched was a Netflix movie called Run, starring Sarah Paulson. And this is Sarah Paulson plays the mother to a child. The child is wheelchair bound and very much paralyzed. And then the child, who I've forgotten her name, the actress's name, she starts to think, hang on a minute, I think my mum's hiding something from me. Or there's some secrets going on here. And the plot thickens. It's it is it's loosely horror. There's a lot of horrific moments in it. More psychological thriller, I think. Really, really good film. Very much like Misery. So a lot of the film is the child. She's like 17, 18, so I guess she's an adult. But she's like trapped in the house, and her mum's like, "No, you don't need to go out." So that it's very much like a hostage type movie. Very, very good. So on Netflix, called Run. And the next film we watched, which I really enjoyed, stars Jai Courtney, and it's called Dangerous Animals. And Jai Courtney, straight off the bat, the beginning, you realize that this guy is not pleasant. He chucks somebody into a sea full of sharks. So he is a serial killer that likes to snatch people and then feed them to sharks and videotape them being eaten by sharks. It's pretty much all you need to know about the film. It is a really good film. Jai Courtney is easily the best thing he's done in a long, long time. Yes, even better than Die Hard 5. Um, and it's a really good serial killer movie. It does show things that I've never seen in movies before. I don't think I've ever seen a film where someone is a serial killer and who feeds people to sharks on purpose. The next film that we watched was a screener disc that I'd got for release, whatever, of I've forgotten the year, like 2006, I think. Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. So this is a prequel to the remake of the 1974 classic. 74, 73. I think Texas Chainsaw 74, isn't it? So yeah, we had the original Toby Hooper film, then we had the Michael Bay produced remake in the early 2000s, and then now we have a prequel to that remake. I don't really remember too much about the remake other than it was pretty good. And a lot of the characters from that remake are in the prequel. So R. Lee Emery, drill instructor from Full Metal Jacket, he's in this. Good film, really gory, really, really gory. Do you remember when I was talking before where I was saying that I'm not a massive gore fan, and I didn't want to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it's just probably going to be wall to wall blood and guts. Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning is wall to wall blood and guts, so not a massive fan of the gore stuff, but the film itself is pretty good. The next film we shifted on to watch was a new one for me and Annette, and it was Bring Her Back. So this is the follow-on film. It's not a sequel, but it's the follow-on film from the guys that made Talk to Me. You remember the one with the hand? Talk to Me. Great film if you've not seen Talk to Me. Now, Bring Her Back was the follow-on film from those guys. I knew nothing about it. For some weird reason, I'd got it into my head that Sally Field was in it. Sally Field isn't in Bring Her Back. Sally Hawkins is in Bring Her Back. Now, I have this weird thing with Sally Hawkins where I've seen her in a few films over the years, and the films I've seen her in, she's always played really annoying characters. So Sally Hawkins annoys me. because she's so damn good at her job. But the characters that she plays annoy me, so it's nothing personal against Sally Hawkins. I'm sure she's great. But I saw her in a film called Happy Go Lucky years ago. That character annoyed me. And then I've seen her in a few things. I'm like, God, you play annoying really well. And so when I saw her name on the credits of Bring Her Back, I'm like, oh God, is this another annoying character? Yes, it is actually. She plays it brilliantly though. But her character, you just want to, you know, oh look, a cliff. You kind of want to the character, not to Sally Hawkins. Sally, if you're watching this, you're great. And so Bring Her Back is about two children that go to a foster parent. Foster parent is Sally Hawkins. Weird shit happens. Really weird film. Um, Violent, yes. Atmospheric, yes. Creepy, yes. Horror film, damn right. Really, really good. So the guys who did Talk to Me, great job on that one. Bring Her Back, great job on that one. Not quite sure what they've got coming out next, but I'll be very excited to watch that one. So I would highly recommend watching Bring Her Back. The next one I watched was a rewatch for me. I haven't seen it since like the 1990s. It was a film that would pop up on various video clips, like the top 10 serial killer things by Watch Mojo or whatever. And it's a Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, would often pop up on these lists. So I picked the DVD up, and we've had it in our house for years. And I'm like, what better time to watch it than Shocktober? So we sat down and we put on Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Still a very powerful film. The best thing about it is Michael Rooker's performance as Henry. The film does look dated because it was made in 1986 for probably about £15. But so it's a low budget film. It's very dated, but it still works. The scenes in that do stick with you long after the credits go. So if you haven't seen Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, do check it out. The next one we moved on to was 1943's Phantom of the Opera. So that is part of let's have a look. It's part of a Universal Monsters dog-eared box set that I have that has things like Dracula and Frankenstein and The Mummy, Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolfman, Phantom of the Opera, and Creature of the Black Lagoon. So that's in this set. I had never seen Phantom of the Opera. I thought I had, because I remember the iconic black and white face. And it hadn't. So I'm like, let's just put Phantom of the Opera in the Shocktober list and we'll sit and watch that one. So we put it on. And then the first thing that surprised me with Phantom of the Opera, it comes on and it's in colour. I'm like, huh? I'm sure this film was in black and white. Now, I'd mentioned before when I was talking about Night of the Living Dead, saying I don't like colorized versions. Sod that. So I pressed pause on the movie. It not even started yet. And I went on to Google, Phantom of the Opera, 1943. Was it in colour? Yes. Okay. So it turns out that the version I thought I'd seen was actually the 1925 Phantom of the Opera, the black and white one. And I'd never actually seen this 1943 one, starring Claude Rains. So we sat down and we watched Phantom of the Opera. Now, when we've watched films like Texas Chainsaw: The Beginning, When Evil Lurks, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, Bring Her Back, Dangerous Animals, obviously with Phantom of the Opera, you're not going to get a gore fest because it's 1943. It's also one of the classic Universal monster movies. And so it was a nice sort of slow down pace where we were just watching something that wasn't terrifying. I'm sure it was pretty freaky in 1943, to be honest. And it always fascinates me, things like that. You hear stories about, when The Exorcist came out, people were fainting in the aisles, somebody having a heart attack and all that sort of stuff. And audiences nowadays kind of scoff at that and go, flip out of it. It'll never happen. I think it probably did. I saw somebody the other day saying, what people still claim that when the Blair Witch Project came out, some people thought it was real. Some people did think that film was real. I remember talking to them at the time. They were like, no, no, it's real, it's real. They were convinced that the Blair Witch Project was real. It is a fact that people thought that because I was there in 1999 talking to these people. And so I'm sure that in 1973, when Friedkin unveiled The Exorcist, there probably were people vomiting in the aisles. Same with Psycho. There is some stuff in the Ed Gein show that goes into Psycho and talks about people are freaking out. My God, this film's offensive. And we watch Psycho now and we're not horrified or we're not vomiting or anything, but people probably were in 1960. So you go back to the 1940s with some of these Universal monster movies, and I'm sure some people were freaking out and going, "Oh my God, this is terrifying." We've kind of lost a lot of that now. I think you could. Um, so Midnight, wow, 12, Blair Witch, rented. See, renting it, yeah, renting it on VHS is one of those films with the Blair Witch Project. That's the best way to watch it, I think, because the whole point of the Blair Witch Project is it's videotapes that were found in a wall somewhere. They were like found in a bag in a wall or something. If you go back into the whole thing of it, and that's what you're watching. But I think the first time I saw the Blair Witch Project, I saw it at the cinema actually. I saw it at a limited release at one of my local cinemas, and I just love that film. I don't know what it is. It's one of those films with the Blair Witch Project. I love it, but I get why a lot of people don't like it. And I'm fascinated by people who don't like it, who can tell me the reason why they don't like it. So if the reason is I don't like the shaky cam, it makes me feel sick, that's perfect reason. But God, I love it. Second one sucks. I don't like number two, but the first one's just a classic. Love that movie. But yeah, so Phantom of the Opera, really good film. A really easy sort of Shocktober movie. There's no real gore in that. There's no real nastiness in it. It's fine. It's a 1943 movie. It's not going to be that terrifying, is it? So then the final two Shocktober films that we watched, I did build a spreadsheet where I started doing this at the end of September. So I built a spreadsheet and I'm like, right, where's all the horror films? Which ones have I got on DVD or Blu-ray? Which ones have I got on Paramount Plus or Netflix or whichever streaming platform I happen to be using? So I built a spreadsheet up going, I need 31. Because with these Shocktober things, I have a habit in previous years of going, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then by the 9th of October, I've missed like 3 days and I'm like, oh, forget it, I won't bother. And so I save it all up until Halloween night and then just watch horror movies for like 15, 16 hours at a time. But this year I thought I'm going for it. And it is only the 11th of October. And I've got a medical thing coming up on the 20th, which might bedridden me for like 3, 4 days. So I may have to start getting advance, start building these things up to sort of take those few days off. But I'm going for it. And so I've got this spreadsheet, and there's about 5 or 6 films that I haven't yet chosen. So I think I had like 26, 27 or give or take slots. And so if I happen to see a film on a platform, then I'll just slot that in just to bulk up the 31 films. So the one that we watched a couple of days ago was on Disney Plus. So if you're in the US or whatever, I guess it'll be on Hulu, and it's called The Night House. And I knew nothing about it other than the fact it was classed as a horror film. Um, and it is about a woman whose husband shoots himself in the head in the middle of a lake, and she is trying to come to terms with the fact that he's, shot himself and he's gone, basically, life without my husband. And she looks on her phone and she finds pictures of herself in like libraries and stuff, but it turns out it's not her. So she starts to go, what the hell's going on here? Why did my husband shoot himself? What's going on? And it's sort of like a mystery type, the hell's going on with this whole situation type thing. And it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. It is a good film. It is a horror film. It's very atmospheric. It's very creepy. It will explain what the Night House is when you watch the movie. But it's on Hulu and Disney Plus. It's worth checking out. It's not, it's almost a damn sight scarier than the Phantom of the Opera. But but it's not up there with like When Evil Lurks or Texas Chainsaw the beginning or something like that. And the final one we watched, I say final because obviously we're going to be watching one tonight. I don't know what yet. Is The Home. Now, The Home struck out to me. It's a video on demand thing, I think. The Home sort of popped up on my radar because it's directed by a guy called James DeMonaco. Now, James DeMonaco is the guy who has I don't know if he did them all, but I think he's done most of them. The Purge movies, which I love the Purge movies. I'm a huge fan of those. I recently watched a film called Halloween, which is a killer clown type thing. And the sole reason that that film gravitated towards me is because some of the marketing were like, this is the Purge with clowns. And as I was saying to Stu Miller last week, it's like, it's weird marketing. It's accurate, but the Purge does have clowns in it. So the Purge with clowns, well, so it's just the Purge thing. But do check out Halloween if you want a nice 80-minute, creepy but not blood splatter gore fest. But if you want that sort of kind of like a gateway-ish horror, there's a few F-bombs in it. But other than that, it's a pretty good gateway horror film to check out. But yeah, I digress into Halloween territory for a few seconds there. So the film, yeah, James DeMonaco did The Purge. He directed a film called The Home, which is about a guy who's on the wrong side of the tracks, keeps getting into trouble. His parents go, do you know what? You need to sort your life out. So he kind of ends up doing this community service type thing in a retirement home. So he lives there. He looks after the patients. One of the patients is John Glover. Really, has John Glover got that age that he's now playing characters in retirement homes? Well, so he does his community service in the retirement home, and he does that stupid thing. So there's other staff there going, right, so you're here, here's the rules you got to follow. Oh, by the way, don't go to the fourth floor. Go anywhere you want, just don't go to the fourth floor. So hands up if you can guess what this guy does. Yes, he goes to the fourth floor. Of course they do. Don't put your hand in the box. Hey, ow. Get your hand bitten off. So he goes to the fourth floor, discovers something, and then the plot thickens and just goes wonderfully off the deep end into sheer insanity. Really, really good film. If you want a really good horror film, really good creepy film, a really good sort of psychological thriller horror film, then definitely check out The Home. Really, really enjoyed that. I always like seeing John Glover in pretty much anything, and he's just on full on batshit crazy in The Home. So that's where we're up to on the Halloween sort of Shocktober fest. I've got another 20 days of horror movies, but I probably will be doing another one of these videos at some point. Probably in about 10, well, not 10 days, because I'm in 9 days, I'm in hospital, so boo. But I will definitely be doing a podcast with Stu Miller just to catch up on all the films that we watched in Shocktober. Originally, I was going to do this live show. I want to start getting into the habit a little bit more of doing these live things, just sort of going through some off-the-cuff topics. So if I switch the movie news on, for example, and go, oh, wow, that's coming. Oh, look, they're going to make a Heat 2 at Amazon. Wow, that'll do really well. It's a weird one, Heat 2. I really don't like the phrase, who asked for that film? Well, that's not the way the movies work. We don't get asked what we want. We watch what comes out. If it makes money, the film studios make more. Heat 2 is a weird one. I know there's a book, but it's an unusual one. But I'll watch it. And I was going to do a video. I'm just going to have a quick drink in a second. Your voice goes once you talk non-stop. Easier with a co-host because your voice can rest while they talk. Doing solo ones, not so much. So I've seen a few news reports, and I'm going to tangent away from Shocktober and October for a little bit. A few news reports about Fast 11. Or technically it's Fast 12, isn't it, if you want to take into account Hobbs and Shaw. Um, Full disclosure, I quite like the Fast and the Furious series. Most of them aren't good films, but I still like them anyway. They're fun. I like them. I was there at the beginning, 2001, watching this Point Break remake. Um, and so we've had the series has been all over the place, hasn't it? They can't even consistently have a name for these damn things. Fast and Furious 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I missed those days. It was easier to keep up with. And so there's been a lot of talk, or there's been a bunch of talk about what the hell's going on with Fast 11 or Fast X Part 2 or some. Why would you? No. I can't even. Why would you call it that? Just call it Fast 11 for Christ. Is Die Hard 3 called Die Hard 2 Part 2? No, it isn't. Right. Back. Fast 11. We're going to stick with that one rather than Fast X Part 2 shite. So, is it going to come out? I mean, it's supposed to be out this year, wasn't it? It's supposed to be out at the beginning of this year, as far as I can remember. It was like writers' strikes, and there's been fights about the budget. There's Vin Diesel goes in, he's like, I need 350 million to make this. Universal like, get out my face, go away. Vin Diesel goes away, comes back. I need 250 now. I've got it down. They're like, get out of it, sod off, go away. You can do it for 200. I can't do it for 200. So there's been all that silliness that's been reported. How much of that is accurate? I don't know. And so we don't know what the hell's going on with Fast 11. I've heard some reports saying it probably won't happen, and I think it will, because you've got to bookend the series and you've got to close it out. The problem is with the Fast and the Furious series, other than the fact that a lot of people think they suck, but I like them. I have them all on Blu-ray. Yeah, even number 8, 9, and Fast X. It got too big for its shoes. It really did. It's got, and I'll admit that. And it's where the hell how do you resolve the Fast and the Furious franchise? I think this next one, unless it makes a crazy amount of money, it will be the last one. There was the silliness where Vin Diesel, who's producer of the movie, came out and he was like, hey, everybody, Universal were telling me they want the movie and I'll only do it on 3 conditions. Can't even say that with a straight face. One condition is that we lower the budget and we go back to the streets. It's like, yeah, really? You said that? You said that? Or Universal said, this is what you need to do. I can't remember what the second one was. It's just like, make it about street racing or something. Really? That's what you said with it. And then the third one was that Paul Walker comes back. And it's like that part, no, don't. You closed out the Paul Walker storyline perfectly in 7. Just have a mention or dedicate the series to him or something, but crazy. So basically Universal want this budget to be smaller. I think they've said 200 they'll be happy with, and I think 200's a good number. I think 200 million to make a movie is still kind of freaking insane, but go figure. There's no way you're gonna get the budget that you got for the 10th. And so the 10th one apparently was $340 million to make and made $714 million back. Ouch. Is that one? Yes, that is that one. So I was looking, because I've got a screen behind me with those numbers on. So if you see me doing this, that's what all that's about. So how do we get a Fast 11? Slash the budget. The budget for the first movie was $38 million, right? Now, probably you're not going to be able to make that movie nowadays for $38 million. Everybody wants more salaries and all that sort of stuff. But you could, 38 million you did the first one. It ended up making $206 million, so it did very well. Then we get on to Fast 2, which cost, is that right? Oh, it's 75 million, so the budget is going up again. But again, still 206 million, I think that made, so it did very, very well. So you're making a profit. So 2 for 2, you're making a nice chunk of money. Fast 3, 85, so the price goes up, but we don't have Vin Diesel in there other than that weird cameo at the end. Apparently, he did that so that he could get the rights to Riddick or something, if the story is correct. Now that one did 157 million, so maybe that broke it. It didn't do very, very well. Then we got to Fast 485. It's Fast 5 where it jumps up. And it's Fast 5 where arguably people say that it's the better of the movies. It's where the franchise gets back on the road, pun intended. Um, but it's also where the budgets go kind of crazy. So that is 125 million for that one. We get Fast 6, which is 180, goes up. Fast 7, 190. Now, Fast 7 had a lot of problems. Obviously, one of the major issues with that was the loss of Paul Walker. And they had to shut down for a while, and then they'd rejig the plot, reschedule things. And so there's that one. Then we get to Fate of the Furious, which is arguably, one of my least favorite ones. Number 8 and number 9 are not good, in my opinion. Number 9, they go to space. Give me a break. Number 8, torpedoes, skiing along torpedoes. No, not happening. Number 8 is 250 million, but made $1.1 billion. So they make money. And then we're talking Hobson Shaw, 200 million, made 780, again, profit. F9 cost 200 and made 719, profit again. And then we get Fast X, which cost $340 million. That's insane. And made 714. So overall, the franchise makes a shit ton of money. It does really, really well. So Universal would be kind of nuts to not make Fast 11. Unless Vin Diesel just says we need to call it Fast X Part 2. In which case, just don't make it. So it'd be kind of crazy to say no. The problem with the Fast 11 is it needs to resolve a cliffhanger that was kind of bonkers. I mean, anybody who's seen Fast X knows that it wasn't looking good for Vin Diesel at the end of that movie, was it? How to sort that lot out, lower the budget, shorten the film. I mean, some of these films are getting ridiculous. It's like, we don't need every film nowadays to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm pretty sure Fast X, what was the running time? Should we have a look? Fast X, running time, 2 hours and 21 minutes. Right, okay. So let's shave off 25 minutes of that. So you shave off 25 minutes of the plot of Fast 11. You've saved yourself a bunch of money. Not a huge amount of money because, unless you cut out some fancy locations or whatever, but you could save some money by cutting the film's running time down. The first movie, let me have a look if anybody knows what the Fast running time was. Let's have a look. 1 hour 46. There we go. So the first Fast and Furious movie, 1 hour 46 minutes. Worked. Made lots of money. Cinemas get more screenings, make more money, blah, blah, blah. So just get rid of these 2 hour and 21 minute multiple location things. Cut down some of the cast. There's probably some cast that you don't need. There you go. Problem solved. You'll get your budget down to 200 million. I did a podcast a few years ago. It was great. I'd love to revisit it. And it was how to run a film studio. And so me and the other two co-hosts, we came up with 10 rules that we would do if we were in charge of a film studio. And it was fun. To my knowledge, I don't know whether any studios have taken up our advice, but we did come up with some pretty good things. Maybe that's something that we should revisit at some point, how we would run a film studio. So many topics, so little time. So I hope everybody who's jumped in and out of the chat has been having a good day. Midnight Social, thank you for your comments. These live shows are still a test. I'm still just testing the technology, seeing how the viewing numbers work as and when we do these shows. Since the loss of Skype, we used to do these shows on Skype, edit them, and then upload them to the YouTube channel. And they were fine. It was great. Technology was wonderful. And then since Skype went away, it was like trying to find different forms of technology to do podcasting. I tested Riverside. That was pretty good, but had its issues. Still testing YouTube Live, which has, it's very hit and miss, is YouTube Live. So some shows we do and the numbers go up, and then some shows we do and they don't. Who knows? I don't know. We're still trying to work out the best way to do these podcasts. But we always do the audio podcasts as well. We always do the podcast as audio as well. So if you go onto Spotify and search from page to screen, you will find the audio shows on there as well. You may not find this one because it's just me having a ramble and a rant and just talking crap with you guys. So it's now 3 p.m. here in the UK. I'm going to end this broadcast in a second. Shout out to everybody who just sort of drove by and who stuck their face in to see what the hell this spectacle wearing person was babbling about. I always do shows unscripted. I do have some bullet point notes kicking around, but I never know what I'm going to say, which is why when I ended up starting the video off, it was like, hey, look at this Doll Man toy box that I bought. I had no clue I was going to say that, but I just said it anyway. So I hope you all have a good weekend, whatever you're up to, whether it's watching films, whether it's sleeping, whether it's working, whether it's looking after your kids, whether it's just surfing YouTube to see what crap you can find to fill your days and keep yourself relaxed this weekend. But thanks for checking in, whether it's for 2 seconds, whether it's for 20 minutes, whether it's for an hour. It is genuinely much appreciated. I am going to go have myself a nice cup of tea, lubricate my throat. I've got a cat over there that's asleep, so, you know, even the cat is bored with listening to my voice. But I will chat to you all soon. And if you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you could subscribe. And once again, I'm going to end this in near enough the same way I began it, thanking Midnight Social for the comments that you leave on the videos. They do make my day, and genuinely, thank you very much for those. So take care, and I'll chat to you all soon.